Okay, good morning, everyone. We got some movement in the stock market this morning. I'm going to point that out. We're going to run some technical analysis on these charts, figure out where things are going. So we don't really care about where they've been. We care about where they're heading in the future. If you're new to the channel, give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate that. And if you're interested in learning how to use technical analysis to find trade ideas, how to, plot the charts, and ultimately, it helps you know when to enter a position and when to exit. Check out my course. Link is in the description below. All right, we're going to start out here with triple Qs. We've got some action and movement in Qs. Now, we need to see a daily close, but here's the daily chart on Qs, and this is coming off the March 2020 lows right here. We have an uptrend line right there, just kind of walking up, and we created recently in this area right in here a bearish rising wedge. So those typically resolve to the downside. That's the highest probability. Nothing's guaranteed, obviously. And you can see we had a breakdown once before, but the very next day it was snapped right back up. That was a false breakdown, turned out to be a bear trap. A little bit more of a rally, and now we've broken down again. All right, so something to kind of note, this is a breakdown. It is a sell signal on the Qs. And if you look at the hourly, yeah, it's not, you had a gap down and we're selling off a little, but the buyers are kind of hanging in there. So I want to see, what kind of front the dip buyers put up today. Are they able to bounce it back up? Or what I would prefer to see for a nice solid sell signal is just continued selling really throughout the day, or at least into the close. An hour or two into the close, we sell off. Okay, so if we don't get that, and let's say the dip buyers step in and we close the market up in this area, it's not solid of a sell signal. It's not solid enough. Ideally, this, we should see, because of the gap down, impulsive selling if this is going to be a nice solid sell signal. So look for that on the Qs. I would think if we're going to break down, Qs is probably going to come at least down to this 300 area. I think that's a very viable target for a potential trade down to 300. And that would be a drop from where we're at of about 7.5-8%. Obviously, there's always the potential for a lot more, so we'll keep an eye on that if this continues to sell off. SPY. So SPY broke down the other day, but here's your daily chart coming off the March 2020 lows, rocking up this, held support right here, and then again, bearish rising wedge, all right within this pattern. Highest probability is to break to the downside. Here's your breakdown. That was your sell signal, and it actually never recovered. So it sold and then just did a kickback rally, and it's basically been kind of, it's been below resistance ever since. Now today, it's not down a lot, so it's not completely confirming. And that's another thing that gives me a little bit of pause on the Qs, is the fact that the SPY is not really, selling off impulsively today. So something to kind of take note of. Ideally, you want to see impulsive selling across the SPY and the Qs to help confirm any sell signals. So something to watch. Now, if we do break down, I think it's very likely SPY is going to head down to this lower trend line right down here. I got it marked in red. We've had 4 reactions along that trend line now. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think a breakdown, come down, hit that, and you'll likely find some buyers down there. And that is what I'm looking for. But until we get some more impulsive selling, we're just going to have to continue to watch this. IWM, so the small caps have been on just a complete tear. I don't see any sell signals in the IWM. They're basically flat right now. So they're not really selling off. They're just kind of hanging out within this upward price channel that we've got right there. I need to see a break of this trend line right here. Right now it's sitting at about 218 or so. On the daily chart. An impulsive breakdown of that would be a sell signal on the IWM. Until we get that, it's not there, and we're still in an uptrend. Let's look at the long bond, TLT. This is the thing that I think is going to trigger a sell-off, because understand that interest rates can't rise too quickly without causing a lot of damage to the markets. Obviously, they can rise as fast as they want. If the bond market's going to sell off, interest rates are going to rise, and you're likely to start to hear from the Fed if it happens too quickly. And so TLT moving down means interest rates are moving up. And today, selling off a little bit more. Interest rates TNX So this is a way to track the 10-year treasury yield. Just type in TNX here in TradingView, and you'll see the interest rate. So they're rising, and flat today, but basically they're trending up. So continue to watch this. If this continues to rise, and especially anytime soon, time is really a factor here. If they rise too quickly, that's the problem. They can rise over time slowly, and the market will be okay with it. But if they just start shooting up, that's when the market starts having problems. All right, let's take a look at gold. We're looking at just gold bullion. You can type in GLD. It's pretty much tracks the same. Gold bullion 1810. So what do we have on gold bullion? It's very constructive. It's a very I see this as a very bullish chart. Now we could obviously we could still sell off some more and come back down. I could see us coming all the way down to about 1730, maybe undercut just briefly. But yeah, I think 1730 around there really should be about the lows. One thing to note is this recent low right here was a divergent low. So you'll notice that the momentum right in here made a higher momentum than the previous low, but it did it on lower price. So price made a slightly new low, lower than right here, lower price, higher momentum. So that was a divergent low, signaling that we have bullish divergence basically confirmed. You'll see also the RSI here. If I can get rid of this little circle, see the RSI, how it's turned up now. So we have a confirmed bullish divergence. That means that bullish divergence means that a trend change is likely. So this downtrend is likely to reverse basically and start an uptrend. Doesn't mean it has to, but that's what this chart tells me. That's why last week I was buying gold miners. Let's take a look at the gold. Okay, so these gold miners, I did a pretty in-depth video this weekend on gold miners. So if you go back and watch that video if you want to kind of know what my thoughts are in general on gold miners. But I just want to kind of do a quick overview of these gold miners. We'll look at Barrick Gold here. You can see up about 2.75%. Again, these miners looked like they were in the support area. So as I kind of click through these, and silver is actually looking kind of interesting as well. They're up pretty big, but all these miners are bouncing today. Here's Agnico Eagle. I pointed that one out. I've got it highlighted as green as kind of my buy area today up. The main thing, it's not so much how much it's up today, but it's about the RSI. You'll see here if I zoom in, we're bouncing today, helping confirm that bullish divergence. See how we made a higher low? It didn't quite take out that low. And the price right there was a lower low. So that's a divergent low right in that area. And that's what I'm seeing across a lot of these is if they had potential for bullish divergence, they're now confirming that bullish divergence today. GDXJ, I believe, is confirming. Yep. So you'll see here, this, I have it circled. That was a lower low, a divergent low. And here's your bullish divergence right there on the PPO and the RSI. So this low was a good area to potentially be buying, and you can see today up 4.5%. It's impulsively breaking higher. So in general, they look constructive. That's the point. Moving on, we'll start off here with Peloton. So this is a trade that's been on my videos for, well, really since right up here, but I've actually been watching it for quite some time. And you basically, what we had is we had an uptrend channel right here coming off the March 2020 lows, broke trend here, but there was no negative divergence. So it wasn't the best sell signal. Yes, it was a sell signal, but not the best. And then, so I kind of I was watching it, and I was watching the other markets and everything, and I didn't take the trade here. Rather, I saw it start to hold support, start to turn up, and especially right here, really looked impulsive. That it was going to do that back test. So then it back tested right up to here, and when it did that, it put in negative divergence. I have it circled right here. This peak was lower than the previous peak. So the price was here, the momentum was higher, and then we made a higher price on lower momentum. So basically price was diverging from momentum, or you could say it the other way. Momentum was diverging from price. Momentum was starting to trend down. Price was still trending up, signaling that price was going to reverse. So now you'll see what's kind of happening. You know, we trade sideways a little bit, but now we're starting to confirm and actually break down. Prices breaking down. So again, you know, this is not the area you want to short at. You want to short when you're in an objective area, which would have been a back test of this broken trend line. I have it circled. This was your most objective, low risk area to short, and so far it's playing out. It's this thing's down about almost 20% from where I entered the position. Now we're coming into what looks like some support. If I go to the hourly, we had this impulsive break right here, kind of this breakout, and we also have this gap that was right here that we could find some support right around that 125.50, 126. We might find some sort of support right in that area. So I'm watching for that. Now, if we don't, if we get a bounce there, I think it's likely Peloton's coming down to this $100, 90, right now it's about 99, 98, 77, $100 area. I think that's a very likely area for this thing. And that's kind of what I'm watching for. Here's PayPal. The thing that note on here, and what I would wait for personally, is the break of this blue trend line right here. But on PayPal, bearish rising wedge, see the rising wedge here? Broke to the upside just briefly. And that's a low probability area. Now, the one thing that I'd look for is when it broke to the upside, it did take out that negative divergence. So it does not have negative divergence. The trend is bullish. Price is bullish. We're starting to break down out of this bearish rising wedge. I'd prefer to see negative divergence show up. It doesn't have to, but ultimately I'd be looking for a break of this trend line down here, an impulsive breakdown as a sell signal on that one. Let's look at TAN. So TAN, clean breakdown today and sell signal on TAN. Here's your March 2020 lows. Nice clean uptrend on TAN. This is a solar stock ETF. They've been all the rage, pretty much in a bubble, I would say. But, I think everybody thinks we're going to have electric cars all around the world in 5 years. I don't know. Doesn't, yes, it will potentially trend that way, but it's going to take a lot longer than I think everyone really realizes. And these things have basically priced in a lot of future growth already. So TAN, the solar ETF, walking up the trend line, held support all along. Started to break last week. It broke, but closed still pretty much on that trend line. So it wasn't decisive enough to say, okay, that's a sell signal. I mean, yeah, it was a breakdown and a back test. For me, it was just too close to call, so I didn't want to take a position. Today, though, gap down and we're selling off impulsively. That's a sell signal. See the hourly, you gap and just collapse. Basically, the sellers are there. So sell signal initiated in TAN. I took a short position on this one. Where's this go? Well, here's some support levels. We've got near-term support, one reaction on this level at 97.70. So that's kind of minor support. I think you'll get a little bit of a bounce there. I don't think it'll be much, though. Much better support down here at 79.70. And again, these are kind of ranges. You could step in a little early if you're looking to cover or something like that. Don't wait for the exact penny, right? You don't want to be greedy. If you look at the hourly here, it's kind of this range. It's probably slightly lower. It could be down. It's somewhere right in here, And the point, it held as resistance right in here, and then it was support once it broke out. So it's in this area, anywhere from probably about $80 down to $78.30 or so. Would be much more major support. So I'd look for a bounce or reaction down there. We break that level, then I think we're heading down to 58.40. And that's really all I see for right now. And just to help confirm some of the components of TAN, like Sunrun and First Solar, they're selling off as well today. Run looks like it's broken. There's a sell signal, that breakdown, and Run looks like it's breaking down some more. So I would say Run's probably heading down to, potentially 36.30, and it's got major support down here at 23.55, 23.50, somewhere right in there. So it could potentially get all the way down there. That would be a drop of, about 60%. That's probably it for that one if it is going to get down there. First Solar breaking down, impulsively breaking down. So again, these two solar stocks are on a sell signal. The solar ETF's on a sell signal. Looks like the whole complex is probably going to roll over. Walmart continuing to sell off. I really think Walmart's likely going to get a bounce here at about 130. All right, that's trend line support going all the way back to 2015. You can see here just lots of reactions along that level. So I have it marked out. So we're probably heading right down to there. We're going to bounce there, most likely. But I think this chart pattern, because it's a bearish rising wedge and we broke to the upside, as we come down, I do think we'll bounce, consolidate a little bit, and then I think we're breaking down. And ultimately, I believe that we're heading down to this 86.40 area. Could be a little higher. We might, maybe it's up here at 91. I could probably mark that out. There's some reactions there. You can see that was resistance, and then we gapped above it right there. Gapped above it again. So that's a pretty solid level. So I would say in this area, I think is where Walmart's ultimately heading. And, negative divergence here on the RSI. So it's not just the fact that price is moving down, but it's the fact that it was forecasted with this negative divergence. As price was moving up, momentum was moving down, signaling a trend reversal was likely. Now we're seeing that trend reversal actually play out. So price is now moving down. It's downtrending. Etsy, all right, so not quite a sell signal. It is a sell signal. It's just not impulsive enough. But here's the thing on Etsy. All right, look, going on. Here's your March 2020 lows. Etsy created an uptrend channel right here, but it broke and it back tested, and then it created the secondary channel right here. But on the secondary channel, right up here at the top, put in negative divergence. You see how the momentum is clearly weakening. Each spike higher in momentum was less and less, and price was just continuing to make new highs. So this is divergent highs, signaling a trend change is likely, and it was on the PPO and the RSI. So then you watch this trend line right here. See the trend line? There's your break. So yes, that is a sell signal. It's not impulsive yet. I'd like to see, let's go to the hourly. I'd like to see continued selling throughout the day, ultimately closing below the low right here, 213, 214. All right, so if we can get a daily close below that 214 area, I believe that's going to do the trick. That's going to be a nice solid sell signal, and Etsy will likely start to continue to sell off. And that's what the chart tells me it's going to do, because you have the negative divergence, you've got the bearish rising wedge pattern up here, and now you're breaking. I'm just looking for a little more downside to kind of help confirm that. First level of support. This one, you've got a little support right here at 160. It's about 166.75. Let's go to the hourly just to tighten that up. Yeah, a little bit of support right there. It's about 166.75. And again, if you're looking to take profit, you always want to step in a little bit early above support, or, you always want to front run levels just a little bit, just to be sure that you're going to lock in some profit. Now, and if that goes, we've got this kind of this big sideways area. So I think, we could come all the way down to the bottom of the area, maybe around $100 or so. For now, I think that'll probably be my final target, would be somewhere in this range, maybe anywhere from 140 down to 100. So I'll have to watch that to see how that starts to trade out. Carvana, I am short this one. It's selling off today, but again, technically there's no damage done to this chart yet. So this has just an upward price channel right here, and we've just been bouncing within that range. So we're not going to have any damage until we break the bottom of this range, which is down here at like 250. So nothing too crazy on this one today. Qualcomm is continuing its downtrend. So again, Qualcomm, here's your upward price channel right here. And it's, that's coming off the March 2020 lows. Everything's coming off the March 2020 lows, obviously. So we broke the channel right here. and then we did a back test, and that back test failed. So that back test, when they opened it up right here on the back test, it was a recovery of support and instantly sold off and failed. That was your signal. That's why I circled it. That was my signal that, okay, this is the area to short. It's confirming, and then it broke down. And so now that you have a nice solid sell signal with a big gap down, it's likely that the people that were trapped all through here, as the price starts to go against them, they start to panic sell and get out of it. And that's what's going to continue to cause the downward momentum. We have a big gap right here at about 130. It's very obvious in Qualcomm. So I think we head towards that gap. Do we fill it all the way? I'm not so sure, but I think it's very probable we head towards it to at least make it look like it's going to fill. Probably getting down in the 133, 132 area, and then we'll watch for some sort of a reversal if that's gonna play out. If it does fill the gap, I think you're likely to get a bounce. Obviously, probably bounce all the way up to the top of this range around 142, and then if you continue to break down, that would be your next sell signal of a break of 130. Then I think it's likely we're heading all the way down here at about 94 to fill this gap all the way down here. Tesla's continuing to break down. I'm profitable on this short now. So this was one that when Tesla was going up like 10, 20% every couple days, I was adding to a short position. I was starting to build a short position, and that's now profitable. So we're clearly downtrending, at least in the short term. You can see that we're basically, making a series of lower highs and lower lows. We just confirmed, we made a lower low today. So there's your, that is your downtrend. I think we're heading down to about 625 in Tesla. Likely get a reaction there. If we break below that, we're heading down to about 460 in Tesla. Lots of reactions along that level, so we'll probably trade there for a little while. And Tesla, we've got some gaps down here, so I think we probably fill these gaps at about 225. There's some gaps, so a gap fill, that might be it for the move, the downward move in Tesla. Or we do have a gap way down here at a 130 that's left unfilled. So Tesla could come all the way down to 130. Obviously, that's going to take some time. It's going to be it's not going to happen all at once. But if we did hit that 130, that would be kind of definitely my final target. I would be taking profit along the way as it starts to sell off into some of these support zones. Okay, sorry, had to do a quick little break. Let's look at Tesla. We are breaking down, and Tesla is, Tesla's breaking down basically. Clearly downtrending, and, I think we're heading down to this 625 area. So we'll keep watching that one. NIO here. So NIO has this trend line coming back here from July, and it's been clearly walking up this trend line. Right now, as you zoom in, we're basically starting to crack that trend line. Haven't completely cracked. It's not a full sell signal from this. But if you get an impulsive breakdown from this trend line, that'd be a sell signal. First stop, well, you've got some support, which was resistance right there at about 48.36. A break of that brings us down to this area, 38.87. And if we break that, I think it's likely we're heading down to about 22.35. And we do have some gaps in NIO way back here. These could get filled if you have a big drop. And remember, a lot of these stocks have gone up quite a bit. I mean, NIO from the March lows is up. Well, actually, yeah, here's the March lows. NIO's up about 2,000%. Okay, so to come back in and fill these gaps down here, completely possible. And these gaps sit at 942 and 795, $8. That would obviously be a crash in NIO. Now, and I think that could easily happen. So I'm going to keep an eye on those. But first things first, a break of this trend line up here. Let's run through the FANGs and then we'll wrap up for this morning's video. Apple down 2% today. So Apple's clearly broken down. You got the daily chart here. See this uptrend line right here on Apple. So you were walking up this uptrend line right there. Right up in this area, we've started to put in negative divergence. So you'll see here, see the negative divergence, how we made lower highs in the momentum. and price made a higher high right there. Basically, that's a divergent high, so that has a high probability of failing. And so far it has failed. And this was right after earnings as well. So basically, they've been selling Apple ever since earnings reported. And we broke this uptrend line here, clearly broke down, and we're continuing to the downside. So again, that's a breakdown. Apple looks like it's going lower. Where's Apple going to? Well, you know, you've got some support down here at about 103.01. But again, you know, I think it's very likely that we head down to this blue line, which comes all the way back to 2012. A couple reactions around there. I think it is possible we head down there, which is about 83 or so. Probably get a bounce or a reaction there. Again, this is just, you know, longer term calls. As of right now, you know, we got to just continue to see if this is going to break down. Microsoft clearly breaking down. So again, Microsoft looks like it's heading lower. So what I'd be looking for on Microsoft, if it breaks still below this 227.75 area, and you get a close below that, that would signal that this move right here was a false breakout. So that would be pretty bearish. I would expect a lot lower prices, probably in Microsoft, coming all the way down to this lower trend line down here. That comes off of this 2016 timeframe. You've got a couple reactions there, and there. So that's kind of your next level of major support. Obviously, we have this zone here, which should prove to be support too. But if we get back in this range, I think we're heading straight to the bottom, which is about 200, 199.37. Amazon selling off, breaking down a little bit today. Amazon's still in this big sideways zone. So until we take out the lower end of that range, which is about 2933, then you know, we're still sideways. Google's still relatively strong. You know, Google's still hanging in there up in this area. So until we see a breakdown in Google, that one still looks like it's holding that support line up around 2061. Now a break of that, which I think is likely going to come in the form of a gap, and I think we head straight down to, you know, this area down here. Google also has a bearish rising wedge right there, and we're at the upper end. So a gap down and a sell-off, I think, is what's in the cards for Google, but we have to wait and see for that to show up. All right, that's all I got. Give me a thumbs up. I'm going to get the video out.